Hey guys, I've been doing a video on replacing the radiator on a 4th gen Honda CRV, years 2012 to 2016. Um, actually, I actually did it already yesterday, and made a video. Was going to upload it onto YouTube, and the video wasn't there. So I guess the phone glitched or whatever. So I'm going to do it all over again, not actually replacing it, but just taking you through the steps required, and just some tips that from what I learned from the experience. The first time you're doing this, give yourself all day, especially if you're up in the north in the salt belt, because there might be some bolts that are going to give you a headache getting out, and doing it the first time. There's some steps that need to be done, like taking out the grill is required. Doing it the first time is tricky. Once you have the experience of doing it, actually it's not that bad. You could probably do it a lot faster, but that's how experience helps. But so I went, here's the old radiator, and I'm going to show you where it was leaking from. You can see right above the bottom hose here, you can see some of the remnants of the leak. And what it looks like to me is this area here right above the hose isn't crimped on the seal. So this could be a weak area on these radiators. And if that's the case, there's going to be a lot of these that are going to start leaking now, especially it's getting up to 10 years for this gen. So there might be a lot of replacement radiators that need to be done. But this is what I noticed, that this seam here isn't crimped right above the hose. What happens when it leaks as well is it leaks right onto the hose clamp and totally corrodes the clamp. So the clamp is compromised. So if you don't catch this early enough, if that clamp gives way, that's a major disaster waiting to happen. So if you keep on refilling the recovery tank with coolant, chances are you got a small leak here at the seam at the bottom that you're not seeing. Or if you smell coolant but can't see a leak, check here on the bottom. This is where it could be coming from. So that's that. The radiators themselves are fairly easy to obtain, and they're very light, because I didn't notice, but they're plastic. The top and the bottom are plastic. I thought they were metal, but I haven't replaced a radiator in probably about 40 years, so things have changed, I know. But the other thing I noticed is that, I don't know, let's see if you can see inside. I'm seeing calcium deposits on the inside of there, and that's a problem with this gen. And it's not so much a problem in the radiator, it's a problem when that calcium buildup gets into the heater core. You'll have uneven heat distribution. The driver's side heat will be a lot lower, more than 10 degrees lower than the passenger side. That's the symptom. And I'm not going to cover that in this video, but if you have that problem, that's the reason. For some reason, there's calcium buildup in this gen. There is a TSB on it, so Honda's aware of it. Why it's happening, I don't know. I was thinking it's the coolant, but it can't be the coolant because this doesn't happen with other gens. So there was something in the manufacturing about this where it's allowing calcium buildup. And you can actually see it when you look down into the radiator. You can see some of that calcium, the remnants of it in there. But yeah, it gets into the heater core and clogs it up and causes problems with heat distribution on the inside. But that's for a different video. So okay, so that's the radiator. I've got a list of the steps, so I don't want to miss anything for you guys. All right, so what you're going to need for this obviously is a new radiator. Aftermarket, they're about 100, I think. I think a Honda OEM is about 150, shipped. If you go to the deal, probably the dealers, they're going to rip you off for the same amount anyway. Now, like I said, check your bottom hose clamp, because if you had a leak, on around here, that hose clamp could be compromised. So you're going to need a replacement hose clamp. And those are about $10 if you want an OEM clamp, which I did, because I like them better than the worm gear ones. You're going to need replacement coolant, of course. If you go Honda OEM coolant, you're going to need two gallons, 2 jugs. They're about $30 each. Just double the price, you know, for like, right, you know, if you're getting peak antifreeze for the Asian cars, probably the same stuff, but you know, you're only gonna be doing this like once every, what, 5 years, replacing the coolant or whatever. So I don't know, I go with the OEM. It's probably no different. If you get the peak antifreeze, the blue stuff for the Asian cars, it's probably fine, but it's up to you, obviously. And then now the other thing is, what I did is, it's a good idea to put the car up on ramps like this, so it's easy to get underneath and leave it underneath, because this way you can work, you know, top. You're gonna have to go down to get the hoses on the bottom, back up. So this is a good way to work on it. And so that's what I recommend. Put it up on ramps instead of a jack. The jack will be in your way. So the first thing you need to do is remove the splash guard on the bottom. And this is a pain in the ass, especially sorry, my crawler here. It's a pain in the ass, especially if you're up north, because there is a bolt here. I don't know if there's a bolt here. There's one on each side, and it goes into a speed nut. And if you're up north, it's probably going to be frozen solid. It's a pain in the ass. I got one side out. I couldn't get the other side out, and so I couldn't totally remove the cover. If that happens to you, what I did was I just swung it out of the way. I got one bolt out and was able to swing the cover out of the way so I can get access to the hose on the bottom of the radiator. But yeah, and there's 11 clips underneath. You know, you get a clip remover or a screwdriver, you can get them out. There's 11 of them underneath. They're all the same size. You can't take it off in sections. It's one big undercover. It looks like it's in sections, but it's not. You have to take off the whole thing. So there's 11 clips, and then there's 2 more clips here in the wheel well that have to be taken out. It's going to be hard to see. Let me see if I get my flashlight. I put my flashlight away. Sorry about that. But yeah. So there's 11 underneath, and then the 2 on the wheel wells are longer. So don't get them mixed up. Keep the clips from underneath separate from the 4 clips, you know, from both sides of the wheel wells, because they're different lengths. Okay. So that's you know, depending on how much. I was working on that one bolt, trying to get it out for 3 hours. No kidding, because the plastic cracked. The speed nut was just spinning, trying to go after it with a vice grip, and it just wouldn't come apart. So I just swung the whole thing out of the way and worked like that. It was not a problem. But yeah, so that's one pain in the ass. Now the next thing you're gonna have to do is relocate the hood stand, because you have to take off this bulkhead. So it just pulls out over here. It's like a Z-bend. Pull it out of the hole there, and you'll see there's a notch here underneath the hood. So you relocate it to the right hand side there, and it'll hold the hood open that way. Let's see, step 4, drain the coolant. When you go to the bottom, a good idea, get a 5-gallon jug, put it under the car, open the drain, and loosen your cap so that air can get in, and the coolant will flow a lot better. All right. So that's step 4. After that, after the coolant is drained, you got to remove your hoses. So you got your upper hose, remove your coolant hose, your recovery hose, and you've got another hose down on the bottom. This model, this generation, doesn't have an automatic transmission cooler line going to the radiator, which is good. I mean, the generation before that did, so in that regard, it's better. So yeah, these are the other thing about removing these hoses is very easy. The hose doesn't really stick to the plastic the way it sticks to metal, so you don't really need a pick. All you got to do is loosen up the clamp and just twist the hose back and forth, and it'll come off really easy. So that was not a problem. Next thing you have to do is, oh, and also, of course, check your hoses. Check it for cracks. My car's got 150,000 miles, and my hoses were fine, so I left them. But, depending if you're like in Arizona or something where it's really hot, the rubber might be deteriorated. So check your hoses, see if oil drips on it. If it's soft, you're gonna have to replace it, because the oil is going to eat through the rubber. But yeah, so check it. You might have to replace the hoses. I didn't. So where was I? Next step, remove the grill. This is really tricky. Now, there's another video on YouTube by Zach Fields, who did a really good, shout out to Zach Fields. He did a really good job of explaining how to take it off. It's really tricky. There's these clips on top. There's 4 of them. Obviously, these are easy. But there's hidden clips, 4 on the bottom and 2 hidden behind here, that you have to go in with a long screwdriver and release. So check out Zach Fields' video. He explains how to do it. The first time you're gonna do it, it's gonna take a while to release. But the one tip I'll give you is up on the upper corner, there are clips, and Zach shows it. And he pulls his grill straight out and the clips release. I pulled mine straight out and it broke the clips. What I think is, after you release the hidden clips here, instead of pulling the grill straight out, I think it has to be lifted up diagonally from the bottom. Tilt it up and then out. Because it looks to me like these clips in the corners, these hidden clips in the corners, release when the grill is turned up. It releases automatically, and that's what I would recommend, how I would do it. If it does break off, it's not a big deal. Those clips really aren't important. They're up here in the corner and it's locked in fine. You won't even notice that you're missing those clips, but that's my recommendation. Let's see. Next thing is remove the hold down brackets. So you've got two hold down brackets here for the radiator. There's two bolts here on each side. Remove those. Then remove your horn bracket. It's 2 bolts. There's a bolt here and a bolt in front here underneath the bracket. I don't know if you can see it. I'm not sure, but trust me, there's 2 bolts there. That's really easy. Obviously, these bolts on the top are really easy to get out. Remove the horn bracket. Okay, then unplug your fans. Okay, so unplug there's two connectors going to the fans. Really easy. Those come off really easy. And unplug the temperature sensor down at the bottom of the radiator. So you have to go underneath. That comes off really easy. So unplug those 3 connectors. Next, there's a hood latch cable here. Don't loosen up your hood latch. Leave it on, because you don't want to have to reposition it. Just leave it on. It's not required to take it off. You've got this cable coming over here. Just release the clips. It's clipped in 2 places. And after that, you've got 4 screws. Okay, 1, 2. There's 1 on the back, and there's 1 on the front. 4 bolts on each side for the bulkhead. The 2 on top and the 1 in the back are very easy to get to. The 1 in the front is a little harder, but it's not terrible. I don't know if you could really see it. I'm trying to. There it is. It's right behind the radiator. That one you can get with an open end wrench, or if you have a ratcheting open end wrench, even better. I think it's a 10 millimeter. Now there's another bolt. If you look to the left, there's another one. Don't release that one. That one holds on the headlight case, so leave that one. It's the one that's a little bit behind the radiator, and of course the radiator moves, so you can push the radiator forward a little bit to give you a little more clearance. The one on the driver's side was a little bit more difficult, but not that much harder to navigate. I also have to loosen the battery, just to move the battery back a little bit to be able to get at the back bolt on this side. You might have to, I don't know, you might not, depends on your setup. Then, okay, so after you have the grill out, the brackets out, the horn off, everything off, the bulkhead, after you unbolt it, just lifts straight up, and then you could just, just leave it hanging over here. It's out of the way. Next, you can't remove the radiator with the fans attached. It's impossible, because the fans are going to hit against the side here. So you have to unbolt the fans, and it's very easy. There's two 10 millimeter bolts on each fan, and they come off really easy. Like the previous gen, they would always snap off. This one, they improved it so where the bolts don't really snap off. It comes off very easily. So you just remove those two bolts. The fans, after you take off the connectors, will just lift right up and out. Very simple. And then after that, you're almost home free. Just the radiator comes right up. It's really simple. I mean, it takes a minute to take the radiator out. It's all the other all the other work. It's time consuming. But yeah, so that's it. Now, after you put the new radiator in, installing it is, of course, in reverse order. And let's see. And then the only other reminder is, after you have everything connected and back, don't forget to bleed your radiator coolant. And if you can bleed it with it up on the ramps, even better, because you want the front tilted up so the air flows out of the radiator cover. So that's about it. Remember to turn your heater on when you're burping it, and you should be good to go. Let's see, anything else? Oh, I mean, if you, I like to use a torque wrench. So the fan bolts are 7 Newton meters. These bolts that go into the plastic are 10, and all the rest of them are 12. Well, holding it on the bulkhead. So there's not a lot of torque. So don't go ape on any of these bolts, or you snap them off. All right. So that's about it. Any questions, post it down in the comments, and I'll try to help out. Okay, guys. Good luck.